for me, please?
1, 2, 3,
4,
5.
6.
7.
John Adams, one of our most remembered founding fathers for all the good he did throughout his life, and no phone call could ever interrupt that. Adams was our second president, our first vice president, and one of the greatest men in our country. The man grew up as a dirt poor little orphan. Imagine little Timmy, but the crutches kicked out from underneath him.
Oh.
The only things that could have been worse for him in this time is if he was Irish and Catholic, because back then they weren't exactly a popular group of people. But Adams came to America with nothing in his pocket, built him up to one of the most wealthiest, most remembered people in that time, and one of the most loved as well by the American people. Imagine someone from today like Eminem, Ice Cube, coming from that nothing, dirt poor town, to then being one of the most famous people in America, still. Now, Adams did a lot of good. For even our modern day government, he set a lot of examples. Originally back then, a lot of the congressional congressmen wanted to take a day off for Sundays for reflection to the Holy Sabbath, a day of remembrance of, I don't want to say remorse, but just remembrance. Adams disagreed with this. He believed there should always be a separation between state and church. They shouldn't mix. They hated him for that. They believed that to be a horrible idea, that he was defying God in some way. Not to mention, Adams was an abolishist. He was against slavery. He thought all men were equal. He thought you were as equal as the next man, as the next man, as the next man. He didn't care what you were. Following all this, he was the first vice president to George Washington, for obvious reasons of they were best buddies. Like friendship bracelets holding hands down the street, best buddies. And following this, Adams himself ran for president against his other friend, Thomas Jefferson. Now, out of a pure curiosity, how many of you think that modern-day insults between presidential candidates are common, like Trump and Hillary, or Bernie Sanders, or anybody else like that? I did, until I looked up some of the speeches that were going on against each other. Thomas Jefferson, who was his good friend, by the way, said this about Adams. "My opponent is a horrendous, hermaphroditical character who is not fit for office in any way." And in case you don't understand the old-timey English, he essentially just called him a man-woman who isn't capable of running this country. He called him a hermaphrodite. But anyway, despite all this, Adams still kind of stayed clean and didn't make a huge rebuttal. And in a way, this helped him far more than anything else. Because the public immediately turned on Jefferson after he said that, saying, "You just insulted this great man who helped us gain our independence with Washington. How could you, you despicable man?" Later on becoming a president himself, ironically enough. Also, Adams did actually help Jefferson write the Constitution. Granted, with some bickering back and forth on some ideas, such as the all men are created equal, but the slaves are only 1/3 of a man, or 1/5, whatever it was. And it's kind of ironic in the way that he's not as remembered as much as he should be. Granted, he's still incredibly remembered, just not as much as Washington or Jefferson or Lincoln. Heck, if you even look at the Mount Rushmore, he's not on there. It's Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, Roosevelt. And while doing research for this, I was wondering, why isn't his head on there? Why is Roosevelt, a president who didn't really do as much as him, on there? And while doing the research, the builder, or the sculptor of Mount Rushmore, his original plan was to put his head on there, but then he decided at the last second, you know what? Let's impress my good buddy Teddy Roosevelt and stick his head up on there instead of John Adams. You know, a founding father. Which I just thought was hilarious. He was just trying to get all buddy-buddy with the president, saying, hey, you see what I did? You see what I did for you right there? Yeah, that was me. Gave me more money to do this. I just think that's hilarious in itself. But anyway, Adams, throughout his life, did do the incredible things. And unfortunately, both funny and ironically, on his deathbed, Adams said to his nurse next to him, "At least a fellow son of liberty lives, Thomas Jefferson," and then died. Whereas ironically, 2 hours earlier, Jefferson had died in his bed. Little bit of a dark humor irony situation, but still. Though in conclusion, Adams did do a lot of great for us. He helped sculpt a lot of the main laws and ideas that we had, even in the sense of law. Jefferson before defended multiple British soldiers in a court of law during the Revolution, even when many men wouldn't, due to the despised hatred of the British soldiers. They're trying to strip away our freedom. But even Jefferson still believed that even though they just shot at an American civilian or American soldier, that they still had the same right as that American soldier to be put in law, or a court of law, and be defended and be proven guilty or innocent by a jury of their own peers. Thus, Adams is probably one of the most interesting of the founding fathers, out of all of them, even Washington.